everything to you. I'm gonna be your father, I'm gonna be your friend, I'm gonna be your lover. But you gotta believe in me. You gotta believe that everything I tell you to do is for the best. For the best, for both of us.
All the time, that was my manip to get into her head, because if I get her head, everything else gonna follow. The body and all those other things that I wanted, and get her to a place where I'm nice, I'm sweet, and she just loves me for it, but I'm really a dog. Just a bow wow, I'm gonna get what I can, and I'm gonna leave your mama.
I felt really special when the pastor there began to talk to me, and he knew my name, and I just felt special. And then he began to just so happen to be driving my route, and I can still remember the smell of his car, the Cadillac, the leather, the cream-colored seats. And eventually, the relationship turned sexual. But I remember also the first time that he hit me. And I was standing outside of school, and by then he was picking me up every day after school. And I was standing outside of school, and I was talking to a guy from school. And I got in the car, and he said, "Who was that?" And I said, "Oh, that's just my friend." And he turned around and he slapped me in the face. And I didn't know what to do. And I really didn't know what to do.
A survey of 500 young women from ages 15 to 24
found that 60% were involved in an abusive relationship.
And all participants have experienced violence
in a dating relationship.
What?
Wow.
Wow.
That's crazy. Yes, all of them.
And a lot of them come from broken homes. They don't have their mother or their father there. So with that absence, the next thing that will come into their lives is the young man. So if he's the only one that's, you know, telling her what to do or trying to mold her, which he shouldn't be, but he actually is, they don't have nothing to fall back on because they don't really truly know themselves. So they tend to gravitate towards that, you know. And even when I think when they get to the point where they see that, okay, this is not healthy for me, it's kind of almost like a habit. It's a bad habit that they have to break.
Mama, where do babies come from? Her mother says, "Lisa, I'll explain when you get older." She says, "But why?" Her mother says, "I'm not gonna lie, you're only 5 and I just don't have the time." Another year goes by and Lisa turns 6, taps her mother on the shoulder and asks, "What's a kiss?" Her mother was in a hurry, so she wasn't gonna tell. But Lisa blocked the door and let out a big yell. She said, "If you don't tell me, I'm not letting you go." Her mother says a kiss is a friendly hello and storms out the door. 3 years go by. Lisa turns 9. She told her mother she kissed and she said, ignoring her, "That's fine." Lisa turns 10. Her mother then starts dating men, and yes, as you would guess, Lisa gets curious again. Lisa turns 14, says, "I don't mean to be obscene, but my hormones have been jumping. What does that mean?" Her mother says, "Honey, it's a part of growing up, and stop all these curiosities. I think I've had enough." Another year goes by and Lisa turns 15. She says to her mother, "Can I ask you this last thing?" Her mother says to her playfully, "Bewilder me, please." Lisa asks curiously, "What sex?" You can only guess what happened to her next. Her mother never answered her, for Lisa never knew, so when the time came around, she has no clue as what to do. 3 months later, Lisa walks into the kitchen, says to her mother, "I'm 3 months pregnant, so now you have to listen." Crying, she says, "Well, remember all the times you ignored me through the years? That's the exact reason I'm shedding all these tears. He asked me for a kiss, and since you said it was okay, we started kissing and touching in an unusual way. And after a few moments, my hormones began to thrive. And since you said that it was normal, he helped the craving stop. You should resent the fact you never explained to me where babies came from. We never knew about condoms, so we never used one. And you're not making me get an abortion, so don't even try. And know that this is all your fault because you never had the time."
But in the meantime, in the midst of all of this, I became pregnant. So we got married, and I got married at 16 to a person who was 22 years older than me, who had to marry me because of his position in the community and the scandal that would have came out around the fact that here was this man of God, this great guy, and he was molesting little girls. But anyway, I thought, he'll never hit me again. But he did, time and time again.
When I arrive on the scene as a police officer or detective, I'm trying to find out, has a crime occurred? I want to know whether or not if my victim is a man or a woman. So many people think that once the police get there, the first thing we're looking for is the woman, the victim. No, we're trying to find out who is our victim. The victim can be a man or a woman. Domestic violence affects all members of the community, all members of society. It really doesn't matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter what job, position, or title you have. It goes from, you could be a police officer, you could be a judge, a lawyer, you can be the preachers, the ministers, it's inside of the church. It really doesn't matter. It actually goes all the way down to two people or abusers on the street. When you have two crackheads walking down the street pushing a cart, the same dynamics of domestic violence occurs. It really doesn't matter.
One-third of high school students have been in or will be involved in an abusive relationship. Dating violence is the leading cause of injury to young women. About 40% of teenage girls ages 14 to 17 say they know someone their age who has been hit or beaten by a boyfriend. Teen victims of dating violence are more likely to abuse drugs, have eating disorders, and attempt suicide. 1 in 3 teens is abused in a relationship, and most partners stay in the relationship after the first act of violence. Only 33% of teens who are in an abusive relationship ever told anyone about it.
That relationship or in their past, something has happened to them that's made them feel like they're not worthy, and that's what they have to settle for. Like, you know, he hits me, but it's like they make excuses for it. It's only because of this, or it's only because of that, or he had a hard day at work, or, you know, I made him mad, or, you know, they have low self-esteem.
I know what that feels like. I know what that violation feels like on the street when a female comes up to me and has violated her place. I think that that's her place. It's like it's on and popping.
I really don't, again, remember what caused this particular beating, but he broke my jaw.
Boom!
And people go, well, why didn't you call the police, or why didn't you leave? I had left a couple of times, but I grew up believing that marriage, especially in those days, was forever, and that God would, it was my duty, and I was supposed to stay married. And when I would talk to women in the church, they would tell me that I just needed to try harder, and that my husband was a high-strung man, and he was special, and he had a lot of needs, and I just need to work harder on being a better wife and make sure I had his dinner ready and had his food hot and had the kids quiet. And you're talking about a girl, a little girl. And it was awful. So I left a couple of times, but I always went back because he would always tell me, you know, and use scripture, and people in the church would call, and the pressure, and I would just give in. I mean, I was a little girl. So eventually, the last beating was just so bad that the hospital had somebody come in there, this lady, and she talked to me, and she was like, you should go to this shelter. And I was like, that's crazy, but I knew I didn't want to go back. And I went to a place, a shelter called A Safe Place, and they helped me so much. They helped me to actually leave the state with my kids. And again, you're talking about somebody that was, by then was 22, no job skills, not a nickel to my name, all the property, his 3 cars, his house, the bank account, nothing was mine except for my kids. And it took me a long, long time to understand that love doesn't hurt. Love isn't controlling. And if someone says they love you, but you can't go anywhere, you can't talk to anybody, you can't be the person you want to be, that's not love. Get help. I did. And I'm probably alive today because of that shelter and those people.
If you're a teenager in an abusive relationship, remember, no one deserves to be abused. Domestic violence is a crime. Take care of yourself and reach out for help. You can contact your local battered women's shelter at 536-7233. Talk to a trusted friend. Talk to a relative. Remember, you cannot change a batterer. You can seek a support for yourself at a local battered women's shelter. Again, the number is 510-536-7233. Thank you.